good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity John Dima SWV Music. So, guys, you know, a lot has been happening in, the hip-hop world, I would say, in the last 5 years. In the 90s, it was the era of no snitching, okay? And in the no snitching era, we saw, guys, take it all the way to trial, like Snoop Dogg, murder was the case and not giving people up, and putting his life on the line to face life in jail, just because guys were to the code, right? Similar thing with a lot of brothers, but in today's world, you have your Tekashi 6ix9s, you have your Gunners, you have Young Thug's brother. These guys are snitching. The guys that Bandman Kevo was dealing with, he didn't snitch, but all his homies turned state evidence, even on him. And then you have these guys who are going back out into the streets getting credibility, right? So we got to understand that in today's era, people are snitching now. People are telling. Gunna just told. Everybody is snitching in today's world, okay? So let's just be honest, because you can snitch and be Tekashi 6ix9ine and still come out in the streets and get credibility in hip hop. That's today's era. But now I want to talk about Candace Owens. Candace Owens recently made a really good video on Meg the Stallion, right? And Tory Lanez. She believes Tory Lanez is the shooter. And she feels like this no snitching culture is what is going to get Tory Lanez free. I'd like to play an excerpt of that particular video. Then I'm going to come back and talk about it.
And so is the circumstance when it comes to an artist named Megan the Stallion. Now, you, if you listen to my podcast, probably don't also listen to Megan the Stallion's music. In fact, in case you don't know who she is one half of the now infamous WAP song with Cardi B. I find the song to be derogatory. I find it to be disrespectful and degrading toward women, right? Reducing women to their body parts. And you guys know that I don't support that kind of music. I want to be very clear about that. But what happened and what is playing out with Megan Thee Stallion in her real life, not in just her performance life, is one of the most hideous things that I've ever seen. The fact that the person that is behind this has not been canceled is incredible to me. Megan Thee Stallion was dating a rapper named Tory Lanez, okay? And one night they went to Kylie Jenner's house for a party. Apparently this was a fun pool party and everyone had a great time and people were drinking. And there's no question after having read the story that Megan Thee Stallion was drinking. In fact, people say she's known, Megan Thee Stallion, to get a little rowdy when she drinks. Well, I would argue that Megan Thee Stallion's also rowdy when she's sober. You got to be a little rowdy to produce a song like WAP, but that doesn't matter whether or not she was drunk. It doesn't matter how much she was drinking. They left the party, a driver, Megan Thee Stallion, her best friend, a young woman named Kelsey, and her boyfriend, Tory Lanez. And a fight, okay, between Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez breaks out in the car. Megan asks to get out of the car. The driver pulls over. Megan gets out of the vehicle and alleges, and there's a lot of evidence pointing out this is exactly what happened, that Tory Lanez whipped out his gun and said, "Dance," and began firing bullets into the ground, forcing her to jump around, except he landed one and she was shot in her foot that night. Megan's best friend, Kelsey, then texts Megan's bodyguard, who is not on site, who is not in the car, and says that he shot her. Tory Lanez has shot Megan, 911. This is a crazy situation. Of course, because bullets were fired, somebody nearby heard this and the police were called, and eventually their vehicle gets pulled over. Megan, you can see in this footage I am about to show you, she is limping and there is a trail of blood behind her. And of course, officers made them get on the ground to assess the situation, to see what was going on. Megan Thee Stallion then required surgery in her foot. Surgery in her foot because her boyfriend, who she had just gotten into a fight with, shot her, okay? Now, I know we live in the world where violence is our words and silence is violence. This is real violence. This is real physical violence, the worst kind of violence that you could ever imagine between a man and a woman. You are talking about someone who just shot a person, okay? So what happens next? Well, there's a lot of speculations, articles ran, people didn't know what happened, but I'll tell you what happened online. Megan was mocked by women and men alike, particularly in Black culture. And people they couldn't believe like this situation happened. They think it's funny maybe that she got shot in the foot and had to get surgery performed. You're not seeing a bunch of people that are calling out Tory Lanez for this violence. No. What happened was Tory Lanez, at least by Megan's testimony, she is now on trial for this, right? Actually doing the right thing and testifying against him. He offered her and her friend Kelsey $1 million apiece. Why? Because Tory Lanez is from Canada. And if he is found guilty, not only will he serve time in prison, but he is also likely to be deported back to Canada. He doesn't want that to happen because he's a successful rapper. So he offered them money and she refused that money, rightfully refused that money. This woman is a victim. Something happened in that car. I don't think she shot herself in the foot and decided to go into the hospital. But it's amazing what then transpired, right? Because of this, let's call it no snitching culture, maybe. Stitches get stitches. Give me all the stitches because let this happen to me. I am snitching. This is horrific violence, okay?
So guys, you heard what she had to say. Now, again, Candace Owens the thought process of the video is good, but Candace Owens is not really, in my honest opinion, making a lot of sense here. The reason is because this is a no snitching. This is a snitching culture right now. Gunner told, Kelsey could have told, because Kelsey's not in those streets. Like, think about it. Kelsey's not a gang member, okay? We're not talking about guys like Gunner who are in YSL or guys who took codes. Kelsey is a civilian, all right? Which I don't think Candace Owens really is so tied to the Black community, because most people that don't snitch are people who are in gangs, things like that, right? But Kelsey is denying it. EJ, you think he has some loyalty to Tory Lanez or Meg Thee Stallion? Would have more loyalty to Meg than Tory Lanez. He's coming out against her. The bodyguard, he didn't even show up. And the gun residue shows that Tory Lanez DNA wasn't even on the gun. So where's Candace Owens going with this particular rant here? I just don't know. The reality is that this has nothing to do with not snitching. More or less what it has to do with, number one, the truth being told, or number two, they don't like Meg Thee Stallion because of something that Meg Thee Stallion did, or a little bit of both. Has nothing to do with the no snitching culture. None of them, because Kelsey could not care about Tory Lanez that much. Couldn't care about it. She wants to blame Meg Thee Stallion's music or hip hop music. No, because those people are civilians. They're not gang members. The reality of it is, Candace Owens, that Meg Thee Stallion is an unlikable person. And you may be seeing that either, yes, Tory did shoot her, or B, he didn't shoot her, going on what the gun expert says. And also for the fact that they don't like her. She's a liar. So they'd rather see him go free than her, or her win. Nothing to do with not snitching. And again, it shows how out of touch Candace is with the Black community. I mean, this is exactly what some of the problems were. Black conservatives. They're not tied into the loop. You know what I'm saying? And that's what really, it really mitigates the transition between, how Black conservatives can come into the Black community and actually serve. It just keeps a lot of people like, what are you talking about? I mean, you sound completely silly. It's a good argument in theory, but it's silly. Silly and good at the same time. But guys, it's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.